Pleasant good day to all of my YouTube fans, all new viewers and listeners across the world. It is my pleasure once again to stand before you to do another YouTube presentation. So as usual, I, Imo Rameses Bakari, your psychologist and life coach from the magical community of Point Fortin in Trinidad and Tobago, located in the Southern Caribbean. It is my desire to inspire you to rise higher. It is my desire to inspire you to rise even higher. It is my desire to partner with you in 2024 to ensure that your dreams become a reality. This will be done through coaching, through counseling, through writing, through consultancy, through motivational speaking, public speaking, feature addresses, and writing. Because after all, you, yes you, are deserving of becoming the best version of yourselves, and we are prepared to partner with you to ensure that we are with you every step of the way. We remind you to partake in our services. We offer coaching and counseling services. We offer ongoing courses, the fundamentals of psychology costing $3,800, the fundamentals of public speaking costing $1,200 for students, and $1,800 for the general public. We also offer Mastering Emotional Intelligence, costing $1,800 for students and $2,500 for the general public. You can also support us via the account information flashing on the screen or via the YPay and Patreon links. So, as usual, we remind you that you can contact us at 1-868-778-5141, 1-868-779-2544, or email us at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com. We will be prepared to work with you and serve you to the best of our ability. So the motivational word for today is that puppets should be left for the movies. Puppets should be left for the movies and not to be in charge of running countries. Once again, puppets should be left for the movies and not in charge of running countries. Because oftentimes when we look at leadership at the governmental level across the globe, we have heard that there's always power behind those in power. We have heard that the face of power is not necessarily those who exercise the power. We know in the context of Trinidad and Tobago, lots of issues surrounding campaign financing, and there is nothing concrete in terms of the management of that to create what we call a level playing field. Across the globe, financiers are heavily involved. We look at the US election. On either side of the coin, billions are being invested to support the respective camps that they support. So that being given the case, if such monies are being invested, obviously there must be some kind of payback somehow or the other, right? And people, if they have questions, I think rightfully so, those questions must be asked. I remember listening to a presentation from Professor Bello from Haiti, where she said, we do not have leaders in the Caribbean, but rather people who carry out instructions. So if that is the case, certainly the citizens are being shortchanged in that they elect persons with the expectation that they will fulfill the mandate that they advertise. But there are issues around those things. But that introduction is just to pivot in looking at events on the African continent. And when we look at Africa being the richest continent, according to a white professor that spoke about the exploitation of Africa, he said that developments have been changing rapidly from century to century, but the exploitation of Africa for 800 years has remained consistent. And we know that the fortunes and the strength of Western civilization, as I said in other videos, as other commentators have also said, is very much hinged on the exploitation of Africa's resources, not for the benefit of the citizens of Africa, but for the sustenance of their standard of living. And that narrative certainly cannot be equitable in terms of a continent having those resources and its citizens in such a state. We have had, leaders over the years, promoting the concept of Pan-Africanism. The late great Kwame Nkrumah making the fundamental point that if the states of Africa do not unite, there is no real hope for their advancement. So that hope was, given life in the formation of the OAU in 1963, now converted into the African Union. But there's a lot of, conversations around whether the agenda of the African Union is fully influenced by Africans for their own interests, or whether Western influence, again, is influencing the agenda. So we have had recent developments in terms of what happened in Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, and they are saying that, what exists under ECOWAS in terms of the unity of West African states certainly is not in the best interest of Africa. And they have more or less withdrawn themselves. And we saw, a very interesting development, where to me was a first for me at least, where the citizens of Burkina Faso protested for their leader to stay beyond the transition period because he had been so effective. And so far so good. He has really shown a purity of intent in terms of promoting the interests of the citizens of Africa. So those who promote the notion of Pan-Africanism, in theory, the practice is really the true essence of it. Because I came across a recent report. I do not want to say that the report is accurate, but if it is accurate, it is indeed a sad indictment of the recently elected leader of Senegal. And Diomaye Faye, if that report is true, is calling on NATO to intervene in the Sahel states, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. So I'm still leaving an element of doubt that the report may not be accurate. But if it is indeed accurate, his sentiments of Pan-Africanism certainly rings hollow. We have seen in Kenya, before William Ruto was elected, he spoke heavily from a Pan-Africanist point of view. He won the election because people felt there was some hope in what he was saying. But obviously, the youths of Kenya has demonstrated that that government has failed on many fronts. And the catalyst certainly was the finance bill that they rejected, which was taxing the poor beyond their capability and giving a free pass to the rich. But they also made fundamental calls for proper governance, accountability, and serving the interests of the people. So it is interesting also that a so-called Pan-Africanist agreed to send forces out of Kenya into Haiti. And Haiti has always been a symbol of resistance for the African community in the diaspora and even further abroad, being the first successful slave revolution in the world, being declared the first Black Republic on January 1st, 1804. So symbolically, Haiti is a very significant country. And for an African country to be sending African soldiers into Haiti certainly has raised a lot of eyebrows. So I'm making the point, if you really and truly claim that you are Pan-Africanist, your policies and your actions must indicate that you are working in the interests of your citizens. We also had the situation in Ghana, where they have embraced a lot of the policies of the IMF and the World Bank, and economically, life is very challenging for citizens in Ghana. We also had the spectacle where Nana Addo, who again in many of his speeches gave the indication that he's a Pan-Africanist. But when there was a major Pan-African conference not too long ago, at the umpteenth hour, it was cancelled. And all that was left for participants such as Pierre Lumumba and Dr. Arikana Chimbori and Julius Malema was that they had to call a press conference. So the leaders who run Africa, and with the resources that God have blessed Africa with, certainly must do better. You look at a country as Nigeria. They are privileged, few are very wealthy, but the bulk of citizens live in poverty. We have had many questions surrounding the present leader. We have had many, cases of people, questioning his capability, given the fact that, when the event took place in Niger, he was anxious for military intervention. But thank God for the citizens of Nigeria, thank God for some officials in government, they heavily protested. Thank God to the overall protests about the chain effect that would have caused. They stood down on that. But we need young, capable and bright leaders, as the present opposition leader in Kenya is showing that he has that kind of capacity. Africa also has the youngest youth population in the world. So the youth of Africa, taken from the example of the Gen Z generation in Kenya, must ensure that the resources of Africa is utilized for the benefit of Africa. They must ensure that African citizens can get the kind of leadership that they are truly deserving of. So that is why in the motivational word I said, leave the puppets for the movies. When it comes to governance and running countries, we need authentic, we need committed, and we need honest leaders who, by their actions and policies, are already working in the interest of making the African continent a better place. In the meantime, between time, I call on the youth of Africa to continue the movement, to continue agitating, to continue planning, to continue having a clear philosophy, continue to develop clear, cogent plans, so that if you are placed in the corridors of power, you will have a clear idea of how to proceed. I know the message was well received, so I thank you for listening. I ask you to reflect on what I have said, and to recognize that, you know, citizens deserve the best of leadership, and they must demand it. And as the late great Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand. Continue making the demands, but also have your plans. So stay tuned, and also remember to support us through our ongoing courses, through the YP and Patreon links, through the account information flashing on the screen, and stay tuned and call us when you need our services at 1-868-778-5141, 1-868-779-2544, or email us at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com. So bye for now, and stay tuned for another powerful presentation next week. Please God. Bye.